Hello, fellow Drinking Mommies. I'm Whitney, one of the co-founders of Drinking Mommies, and joining us today is Nikki, calling from the Golden State, which is California.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Nikki's first time on our video segment, but you see a lot of her awesome posts on our Facebook page, so she's been contributing to us on our social media platforms. And joining today, she's got her little one with her, so you might see some little snippets of her in the background. I've got one of my lazy Dalmatians behind me, so that's life. We're gonna make it work. Kids are great.
I know.
So today we're going to be doing a show topic that I think that every single parent can relate to out there, because you always have individuals. No matter what your parenting style is, no matter what you do, you're always going to be wrong to someone. So
Yeah.
Today's show topic is how to deal with unwanted parenting advice. So Nikki and I are going to have some back and forth dialogue of some of our experiences and some of the ways that we counteract the backstabbing.
Yep.
Okay. So, Nikki, one of the things that really bugs me sometimes is I will post a picture online, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'll never forget, I was posting a picture of one of my son's first horseback riding lessons. And within moments of posting it, I had these people jump on there and criticizing. Horses are dangerous. Your son needs to be sitting like this. He needs to be, literally, it's his first lesson. He ain't John Wayne on the saddle yet, you know? And it was just getting torn in by individuals who couldn't even just sit there and appreciate a freaking photo. Do you get that? When you post photos of the girls, do you get people who are just to sit there and nitpick it apart?
I think now, I don't know, just kind of the way, if anyone really knows me, my personality, they know that I'll say something right away to shut it down. So a lot of people don't say anything to me anymore about anything, because I'm very for you raise your kids how you want to raise them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not anyone's place to say anything to you. Nothing. And it's just an opinion. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. And a lot of the times too, I don't know. There's a lot of controversial subjects, on raising kids. My biggest pet peeve though is when it could be anybody. It could be, I don't know, friends that have already had kids that are older. It could be friends that are just starting to have kids or that don't have any kids. It could be family members. But when it comes to kids when they're little, that's all I've experienced so far. So it could be anything when it comes to their timelines, when they're supposed to do something else, accomplish something else. Oh, they're not potty trained yet. Oh, well, my kids got potty trained at this age. It's did I ask you? No, I didn't. And personally, it has nothing to do with my child. What on earth makes people think that I'm going to value their opinion over the well-being of my child?
Right.
On anything. It's ridiculous.
I got that too with Gavin. Gavin was kind of a late walker. He not bark. Calm. No, I am talking to you. My son just walked through the door. So Gavin was a late walker. He not too far behind, but it took him a couple months longer than most kids would to be able to walk. And I remember people trying to give me all of this unsolicited parenting advice about things I needed to do to be better, but not taking into account the fact that as children are developing, they're all going to develop at different levels. Some are quicker than others, some are later bloomers. Everyone has their own learning style. But it's this race with a visible finish line of when kids have to accomplish these certain gates in their lives. And it's so flipping frustrating to me.
It is.
Especially when it comes from people who don't even have kids. That's the thing that kills me. There's this one girl I know who is this child expert of all these things that she's like, you need to do this and that. I'm like, girl, you don't even got kids.
I know. It's I don't know. So people, like, over time, like, a lot of it was when my first was the youngest, Haley. And that's when I would get it, like, oh, people like swarm. Like, I don't know if it makes them feel better about themselves, like to try to help somebody out with advice or something.
Yeah.
But the only time I've ever wanted advice is if maybe they got sick and I would go to, our, of course, our family, like mine and Craig's moms or our sisters or something. And like, hey, this is going on. What did you guys try with them to try to do it at the house first, just like certain foods or whatever before I brought them into the doctors.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all I really cared to ask about, because I knew, like, I kind of always just follow my intuition, and I always kind of know when my kids are going to be ready for something.
Exactly.
When it comes to potty training, whatever the case is, Haley took forever. And I remember in the very beginning, I would kind of let comments get to me to like, oh, she's almost 2. She's not potty trained yet. And that was like such a big deal. So I would try with her. And even though I knew in my gut that she was not ready, and I knew she wasn't, I would still try. I would stress over it. And guess what? For months, I was stressing over it. And finally, I tried everything, this, whatever. I tried everything. Nothing worked with her. The thing was, she just wasn't ready. And guess what? She was still wearing diapers well past 3. So what? Like, she got over it eventually. And she, she's in kindergarten now, so she's fine. But just, I don't know.
And I think that's one of the things that kind of makes no sense to me, is that we're in a society today where we hand out participation trophies,
Oh my God.
Everyone's an individual, everyone's opinion matters. But when it comes to, developmental timelines, everyone's a critic. Or when it comes to just your parenting styles. And it's, for me, like Doug and I, we never talked to Gavin like a baby. We never did baby talk. We also had rules and consequences. And there's friends of mine who don't believe in consequences because it hurts their spirit. And that, that's their own style of parenting.
Yeah.
And that, I think, honestly, one thing that I've come to find that took a few years, because I'm 30 now, is to realize that I need to stand my ground a little bit more. Like younger Whitney, I got pushed around a lot more with my opinions because I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want the confrontation. But nowadays, it's just kind of like, you know what, screw it. If you're opening your mouth and you're judging me and you don't like what I have to say in return when I didn't ask for your opinion on something, that's just called life, And so for you, what has been one of the biggest problems that you have seen with unwanted parenting advice? Has it come mostly from family or friends, or kind of a mixture of all of the above?
I think overall it's been kind of a mixture, actually, to be honest. And even from people that are like family, that are, they could be like friends that are from, I don't know, who knows, just aunts, uncles, or, whatever, like stuff like that. I'll just get it from random people, like making comments. And I remember with my girls, I don't eat meat. My husband does. Mm-hmm. So especially when they were babies, for the first year, like I only breastfed them. I made all of their food. They only the first 6 months. And then probably at about a year, I'd start introducing other stuff to them, because they eat stuff that my husband eats too. But I'm very much into health and nutrition. My husband's not, so it's kind of,
opposites attract.
Yeah, we have to kind of meet in the middle on that subject. But I remember when they were younger, especially like a baby, I would get family, oh my God, all the time. And I was very like, oh, hey, this is what they're eating, or I make their own food. They have never tried this. And people would still try to give them stuff. And I'm like, excuse me? No, that is not your child. You did not birth them. You are not nursing them. Like, this is not, you're not raising them. This is not your baby. You don't give them something that the parent says no to. Doesn't matter why.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Outside of just unwanted parenting advice, people not respecting your wishes as a parent, like what you want your children to eat or not eat, that's another thing. You know, it's like it for me, it becomes a trust issue, because if I have certain parameters for my child, I am entrusting my child in your care if you ever want to overnight or watch. But if you're not listening to me, that's also an issue, because that also means you don't respect me, and that is so frustrating.
Oh yeah, that's like that would be a deal breaker, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even know, like there's just a lot of different things, like it could be simple little things like like back on the potty training thing. Kensley, you know, here and there, she was probably more interested in potty training a little bit earlier, just because she had Haley. Haley was already, you know, using potty train by the time she was like turned a toddler.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been back and forth. It's a slow process, and some days she'll want to go in there and just, you know, use the little potty, and other days she's in diapers all day, because we're not going to use pull-ups if she's just going to use it as a diaper. So, you know what I mean? Just things like that. But then we'll go to family and or just anywhere. And you mean me, Mom? Yes, you, oh my little honey bear. And you know, they'll say stuff like, "Oh, you know, are you gonna try to get her to use the potty today?" And I'm honestly to the point, because I had already experienced stressing myself out over it. I'm like, no. Yeah. When she's ready, I can tell you right now, because I know from experience, she'll get over it and she'll be ready. She'll know. She'll get used to it. I'm going to let just life happen. I'm not pushing it. That's not something I'm going to stress over. I don't care. Like, she's little. Let her be little. Just get over it. It's not your place to say anything. So that's just really irritating too. So. And passives. Yeah. Oh, that's another one too. Pacifiers. That's a huge one. They don't bother me.
Oh gosh, everyone has an opinion on pacifiers.
Yep.
No matter what you do, it's wrong. Or don't do.
I know. Seriously, like my girls, Haley was so attached to them for a long time. Kensley, she wasn't as attached, but once in a while, if she finds one, because they've kept them for like, I found one. Yeah, they're baby dolls and stuff. I'll still find them around the house. So it's not something we give her, you know, every day or anything like that. But if she finds one, just like right now, she has it in her mouth. It's like, wow, she's 3. Get over it. Like, again, I don't care. And people are so against that, like, oh, she's 3, she's too old. It's like, no, she's not. And it's not your child. So it's not your place.
And people forget, like, as a parent, we will all screw up as parents. We will all make great gains as parents. Like, literally none of us are perfect. And all we can do is the best we can, you know, with what our lives are. And that's one of the things that I think that we need to come to a conclusion, not just as parents, because other parents can be just as bad as those who don't have kids. Is we just need to learn to just accept. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Everyone and every child is just different, and we need to stand our ground, which is
absolutely
a lesson that I started to learn the hard way. I started pushing back and I started pushing buttons, but you know, you gotta speak your truth, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. That one. And another subject I actually heard on, and it was only early on with my first, was breastfeeding. And I remember I would get questioned, and mind you, like my breast milk dried up, and it wasn't something that was intentional. It just went away. And at the time I wasn't educated enough to know that I could start producing again. So I thought that was it until, you know, I got pregnant again. So for me, it was young, because I was planning on nursing Haley for at least a couple years, and it, you know, it ended up going away. But right before that happened, I started getting comments from family saying, "Oh, you're still breastfeeding her?" and just questioning me. And it's like, yeah, I am. If I can, then I'm going to. Like, oh, well, people say that you should stop by 1. Who?
And actually, there's been a lot of studies that have suggested that going up until they're 2, sometimes, you know, 3, years of age, it helps with brain development.
It does, and it's healthy. Like, it's good for them. I mean, how, like, even after I ended up getting pregnant with Kensley, like, right after, it went away. And I would pump and I would put it in Haley's food.
Yeah.
It's good for them, like, all through her toddlerhood until pretty much it dried up again. So,
See,
I mean.
and I got, when Gavin was born, I also had the problem where my milk supply dried up.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, 4 months, and it was gone. And same thing, it was lack of knowledge. I was pretty dehydrated. I wasn't sleeping very well, which of course us do as new moms. And my diet was kind of all over the board, and I couldn't breastfeed. And so we had to go to a milk replacer formula. And I remember getting mean mugged by people that I knew and criticized by family members, calling me selfish. Like, oh, you know that your son's not going to get what he needs to develop. He's missing out on all of these natural things that are found in the milk. Trying to give me a guilt trip like it was even my choice at all to begin with.
Yeah.
Not knowing the circumstances was that I could not breastfeed him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember coming home one night and crying because I felt like I was the worst parent in the world,
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that sucks. And I always try to tell new parents is you're going to get criticism. People are going to
That's so true.
It really is. And I truly do believe most people in their hearts think that they're doing things for the right reasons, that they're criticizing you because they're trying to help you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also believe that there's a fair number of people that criticize just because they're miserable in their own lives.
Oh, absolutely.
And it makes them feel better.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely like, yeah, I don't know. So my main ones is what they eat. And okay. That's always been a huge one. And they're just nutrition and their development, I guess, has always been a pet peeve for me, for people to even, because I know what I'm doing. I'm going to know what's best for them, because as a mother, you just have to trust yourself. You will always know what's best for your kids. No one else will. And people tend to forget that. They forget that, just because I did it with my kids doesn't mean that it's going to work for someone else's kids. Some kids don't even like pacifying.
Yep.
Like, it happens. It's just, I don't know. It just depends. And on just anything, like, I'm trying to think of another subject. Co-sleeping. Some people like to co-sleep with their kids. Some people don't.
Oh, yeah. You're right. That's another hot button topic. I know people who are like mean about that. I've got several friends of mine that co-sleep. Personally, I never did. But I have friends of mine who do co-sleep, and they've gotten so much criticism. Like, saying mean stuff. Like, one of my girlfriends, she was told by her freaking her cousin, like, you obviously are a bad wife and don't want to be with your husband because you're co-sleeping. It's like, damn, who the hell are you?
I know. See, what we always did with our girls, at least so far, is that we would have the bassinet in the room with us, and just so, because they wake up a million times to nurse, whatever. And then at some point, of course, once in a while, even to this day, I have both of my girls come in the bed and sleep with me when Craig's gone, when he's on a fire or something.
Right.
But like, the truth is, he deep sleeper on when I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
How much of a deep sleeper he is. So he was always afraid that he was going to roll over on them. So we never, when they were little, if anything, they were laying right next to me when I was kind of half asleep, but I would always put them back in their bed just because I didn't want him rolling over on them.
Right.
So and then eventually we put them in their own room. So
well, and that is your family situation, and that's what's tailored to you and your family's needs.
Yeah.
So for me, I I don't talk to someone else about their kids unless they ask me for advice. The only time I've ever interjected, and it's been very few times, I will say this. The one thing that pisses me off as a mom is when I'm at a pool and I see moms like this on their phones. And their little kid, who isn't that great of a swimmer, doesn't have a life vest on, is swimming. And
yeah. Oh yeah,
I feel pressured to watch and make sure their kids are okay on top of my own.
That's a safety issue, though. That's a little bit.
Exactly. So the safety issue I have interjected before.
Yeah.
There was this one time in particular where the kid slipped underwater, was treading underwater, and most people don't know this, but when someone is truly drowning, it is nothing like the movies. It's not screaming, yelling, flopping around. It's often very silent. And I walked over, I grabbed the kid, brought him to the edge of the pool, and I went up to the mom, and I'm not going to lie, I chewed her ass. I was just livid. And she was just sitting there Snapchatting away.
Oh my gosh.
There's a time and a place for that, but
yeah, definitely.
That's where I draw the line. That's where I will interject with another parent and be like, yeah, no, that's not cool.
I think one thing for me is actually how people place their kids in car seats. I'm an advocate for that. Like if I notice, because I see it all the time on Facebook, people will take pictures of their kids in their car seats, like really little babies, toddlers, little kids. And if they don't have their shit on correctly, I'll say something. Yeah. It's not criticizing the parent. It's just simply that they were shown wrong how to properly put their kid in the car seat. I don't know how that happens.
Right.
But I will say something, because if it gets any lower, that buckle, that chest piece, then it's going to hurt their internal organs if they have to stop fast, or if they get into a bad accident. So that right there is another safety issue. I will always say something. And even with anybody putting our kids in the car seat, even like any of our parents, I watch them. Just, it's been a while. Car seats change over time.
They do. They're always finding new methods of safety. Yeah. So
I will always correct them. I have no problem. Like, no, this needs to be tighter. I'll even say stuff to Craig, like, he's pretty good now. And sometimes he used to get offended. Like, oh, I don't know how to put my my kids in the car. I'm like, well, if you're not doing it correctly, I'm going to show you. Like, I'm not criticizing you. It's a matter of safety.
So, yeah. I think to kind of round up our show, because right now, sometimes, we always try to keep the shows, for everyone watching between 10 to 15 minutes, but we have shows that go into the 20-minute range just because sometimes you just got a good dialogue going. So we'll round this up with an iteration. When it comes to being a parent, right? We're all jacked up. We're all flawed. We all try. But the biggest thing is to support one another, to not criticize and just, as you said, bring up safety concerns, completely valid reasons to go and approach a parent about something that's going on. Car seats is a big one. I know when I was first working car seats, I was all jacked up the first few times. And I had been, because no one had ever shown me. And at this point, YouTube was around, but it was nothing like it was now, or like it is now. And it's good. It's good to educate other people, which actually, you know what, girl, that might be a really good video segment for you to take on and post on Drinking Mommies as like a tutorial on how to do a car seat. I think that'd be awesome. Yep. I know if I ever had another one, I'm going to do a refresher course. But so ladies, stand your ground. Don't let people bully you. Be kind, be understanding, address safety concerns. Know that for everything that you criticize someone else on, guess what? You can also be criticized in return, because
that's how life works.
But we thank you for joining us today. Do you got any parting words, Nikki?
Just learn to I don't know, as a mom, just trust yourself. Like, know that you're going to always know what you want, or whatever you want to do, or how you're raising your kids. That's the right way. Like, no one's perfect, but you are going to know better for your kids over anyone. Right. So don't worry about some mother, sister, and whatever. Like if somebody tries to tell you you're doing something wrong when it comes to your kids' development stages, no, you're not. They're just different from what they experienced. And that's really all it is. So that's a huge one.
We're all different. You know, it's not a cookie cutter design. Every single one of us, I mean, even as adults, we all learn at different we all do things at different speeds, different paces. So when it comes down to it, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unless safety is concerned. Then try to be nice, but if they don't listen, then be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could put that on a t-shirt somewhere.
Probably.
Okay, ladies. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We were going to do the live feed today, but we were running into some technical difficulties, probably because of the user, myself. Next week, we'll try to figure it all out, though, and we'll be able to get you guys commenting as we're doing this live back and forth. But thank you so much. If you have any comments, please feel free to put it in the comment section, share the video, and if you have any future show ideas, let us know. We'd love to hear them. So take care, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll see you for the next show.